And we are live. So, welcome to An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, I've got the Goraphobe here hanging out with me. And he was kind enough to come on board for this idea that I had, which was to do an immediate review of HBO's The Last of Us, every episode. Now, last week, I kind of tried to do one on my own. And it didn't work out very well. I was tired and distracted, and it works a little better
Right.
if I, have somebody on here, or if I want to do like a pre-recorded, thing. Then solo things work fine. But a one-person live stream, I'm not so sure about that. Or it's definitely something that I need practice with. So
I've gotten a little bit better at it. I've decided to with my watches and stuff like that. I've gotten pretty damn good at doing that. But I've got a lot of practice now.
well, when I did do it, if I do that again, and at some point, I'm sure it'll probably pop up. I'm going to need more rest than I had when I tried to do it that time. I was like shot in the ass. So let's get to The Last of Us. Now, last week, The Last of Us dropped on HBO, and it's the newest series from HBO based on the video game, which is a tremendously popular video game. And let me ask you this, because I've never asked you: are you a gamer?
I was many years ago. After the first, or maybe the second or third God of War, all those years back. Maybe
Okay.
a PlayStation 3 was my last
Okay.
time that I was a gamer.
Okay.
So I didn't know squat about this when I started watching the show. I didn't know anything about it.
Okay. Same here. I mean, the last time I looked at a video game was the late '90s, and it was a Sega Genesis, and I was playing Doom. I mean, it was an actual cartridge, and this was
Right.
back in the day when you could actually go to video stores. Remember video stores?
Oh,
And
wow.
rent a game. And so I would rent the WCW game and so on and so forth. And so I don't know zip about video games, long story short. But I know that this is based on an extremely popular video game, and was met initially with a lot of skepticism that it wasn't going to hold up to the quality because it's a beloved IP.
Right.
But I saw it, and I wasn't going to hold any of that opinion because I don't play games at all. And I was very impressed. I thought that first episode was solid. I especially loved the first 30 minutes, and I just want to touch on it briefly. The first 30 minutes, where you get the background story of Joel and his daughter and his brother, as you sort of watch this apocalypse sort of kick off.
Right.
I thought that was beautifully filmed. I followed through, and then it jumps 20 years later, where they meet. He and his woman, his woman Tess, meet the girl Ellie. It's kind of a tired trope. She's the key to everything. But this game is so old that you couldn't do it another way. So it's borrowed off older and much older story. So it's good to be loyal to the source material. What was your opinion of when you first saw it last week? What did you think?
Like I said, I went into it blind. My son, my 16-year-old, of course, he's played it. He's beaten it. So along as we were watching, I would hear little comments like, "That's not faithful to the game," or "Wow, that's really faithful to the game."
Okay.
And the fact that he was so impressed with it and he liked it a lot really spoke volumes to me. I guess the time jump in the show is 20 years. In the game, it's 10 years.
Okay.
But from what he's saying, it's staying, for a show adapted from a game, it's staying very loyal. I guess whoever's writing it, from his opinion, has done a damn good job with it. And I enjoyed both episodes. So
I think it's that guy, Neil Druckmann, who was, I think, the creator of the game, is the creator of or the executive
right.
producer, the showrunner of the series. So I mean, I think the character who played Natalie, was that her? Marlene last week, who was taking care of Ellie. I think she's actually the actress from the video game.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, Druckmann actually brought in, one of the actresses, who did the voice and, that the character was patterned after, and brought her in to actually play the character in the TV series, all these years later. So I thought it was good. I was pleasantly surprised, and you know me, nowadays, the only thing that surprises me are pleasant surprises. So, I was like, okay, let's go for it. And so the idea came about to, do an immediate after action report, so to speak, after every episode. So this channel will be covering The Last of Us immediately after every episode drops on Sunday. And, you're going to be joining me for those. And that's always a cool thing. So give me your impressions of, just general impressions, and then we'll break down this week's episode. What did you think?
Well, when I first started watching, I love the first few minutes how they're talking about and how it's actually possible. This is not a zombie thing, and this is not infected like 28 days later.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, if they're talking about how ants and how they get this fungi and it can make them behave a certain way. And if a certain fungi was to get to us, it would make us do that same thing. That scared the shit out of me when I heard that. Because I guess that's true. So it's like immediately it takes you from something like a zombie that's not possible to wow, something that could be possible. So I was drawn right in.
I thought. Go ahead.
And the little girl that's playing Ellie, she doesn't look like the little girl in the game, but she's from the Game of Thrones and a couple other things. She's the one that played the little feisty Spitfire queen that ends up jumping on the giant. She's trying to kill this fucker, and he pulls her down and stomps her into the ground.
Yeah,
she's just fantastic, man.
Yeah. Bella Ramsey is her name, and she was Little Lady Mormont. I remember her. Yeah, that was cute. Yeah, it was cute.
I wanted to get more into her character. I wish we could have got a side show or something so we could learn more about her. Because
unfortunately, I think it's been over 4,500 days since George finished A Dance with Dragons. We're still waiting for his old ass to, finish up The Winds of Winter. Which who knows? He may never. My understanding, he's very close to it, or he's like 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through it. But yeah, it would be nice to see, what actually happens in the book. That would be a good thing. I thought it was a little on the nose when I first saw it last week, and they started talking about like viruses, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. And then they started talking about vaccines, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. But then, no, it's just, that one scientist gets on there, and he's a really good actor, and I can't remember what his name is. But he's been in so many good things. He was in The Mummy. He was the stupid brother-in-law, Brendan Fraser's stupid brother-in-law, who was, just the goof. He was in a great show called Spartacus on Stars, and he was one of the Romans, one of the slave owners, and he was a bastard in that. So he's a really good actor. And yeah, you're right. He starts talking about fungus and the simple science of it and how that could, grab a hold of people. And basically he says that would be game over.
Right.
So, just very quickly within the first 5 minutes, they're setting the whole thing up for you. And then you go into 2003 and you're in Texas with Joel and his daughter. And I think it was Sophia was her name. Sarah and her brother, Tommy. And you could feel it had a creep vibe to it. The police are going through the town because we know what's going on. And then, all these different things, and really, really good. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, I love when we realize something's going to be going wrong there. And remember the daughter's going over to bake cake or cookies or whatever with the neighbor.
And the grandmother.
And you got her back there, and she's freaking out, and she's looking, way in the background. So we're the only ones that see this. We're the only ones that know. Yeah. And it's just, go over there and see, and she's munching on them and shit. You know what I mean? And she's this woman that couldn't even move now is running around like a cat, man. I was like,
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah. And then you got to see the entire thing that was happening to the town because you're just watching this microcosm,
Mm-hmm.
and you're watching it like through a windshield. So it's like this very narrow sort of viewpoint, or the back window. As they're looking, and the planes are flying and one's spinning out of control. Things are just exploding, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. We did the remake of Dawn of the Dead, and it kind of puts you in mind of that. We're seeing all this shit happening in the background while they're just doing their life and trying to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
We're seeing the bedlam,
Yeah, and the great thing about it is that, with Dawn of the Dead, we had, maybe an hour, 45 minutes or something like that. Here, hopefully this holds together. I'm hoping that it does. Because I'm going to take it episode by episode. I'm not ready to endorse the whole show, but I will endorse these individual episodes that we've seen and say, these 2 episodes are worth checking out. But yeah, it was good stuff. It was good stuff.
They're actually to develop characters. They're not rushing anything. You know what I mean? They're letting us know who these people are so that we care about them, so that we understand them. You know what I mean? They're not rushing shit. And now I think the first 2 episodes were like appetizers. I think now the show is now beginning to start.
I think you're correct. And I personally, I'm a little over Pedro Pascal because it seems like he's in everything nowadays. But watching this, because I loved him in Game of Thrones. He played Oberyn Martell in the Mountain versus the Viper fight.
I know that. Oh man, that was painful. I loved that character.
Yeah, he was a great character. And he just got smashed. He just got smashed in like 3 seconds at the end of the fight.
Because he got cocky.
Yeah, but then like watching this, I've sort of forget that it's Pedro Pascal. I find that I'm actually watching the show, which is always a good sign. That's a good sign.
He's just a Texan in this.
Yeah, he's just a Texan, maybe with a little bit of Army experience. And I think he was a Desert Storm vet or something like that, not some super guy, not some Superman or something like that. He's just a guy.
That turned bad. He's turned bad. He was selling drugs and everything else. You know what I mean? He was a good guy, a good dad, and worked his job and was, he lived in the suburbs. And now, like for instance, you had Tess explain to her, "Hey, we're not good people."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what happens is, you jump 20 years later and they're in Boston now. They're in Boston and like this it reminded me, and I mentioned this in last week's episode, it reminded me a little bit of The Road.
I love The Road.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of that. It reminded me a little bit of Stakeland.
Yes.
It reminded me a little bit of Stakeland, where they've got these sort of walled off sort of communities, these sorts of things, very heavily armed, very difficult to get in. Maybe they're these like safe zones, and everything outside of that is just kind of open game, and maybe you better not, go out there, that kind of thing. And they're both clearly dealing in the black market. There's a lot of black market shit going on. There's also a rebel group because I guess it's some sort of like government Fedra thing. That's what they're calling it. So, that gives it sort of a feel of government. But you've got a rebel group operating inside, saying that, they want, more freedom or this, that, or the other. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about them yet.
Right.
Because, hey, the guys with the guns are keeping everybody safe right now. So, maybe it's not a good time to have a guerrilla war going on inside while there's a fucking zombie apocalypse, like right outside the wall. Maybe now's not the best time for that, And I get it, but
when
so
when that collapses, your little safe zone is no longer safe.
Yeah,
I think the set decoration is fantastic in this. Do you remember the show from the History Channel called Life After People?
No, I never saw it.
It is great. If you get a chance on River it's on, you could probably find it on demand somewhere. It's called Life After People, and it shows what would happen day by day if people were no longer here, how the Earth would retake everything, and
Oh yeah,
that's what that set looks like when they got outside the zone.
yeah. Yeah, I believe it. I remember I was overseas when the pandemic hit,
It's a
and
documentary.
the lockdowns there were extremely harsh, very difficult. And I remember after about 6 weeks in a very polluted city, I went outside one time out on my balcony, and just from people not being allowed to be outside, and the cars not running, and the pollution, and people not burning wood, and doing all these developing world things, the air just got clear. I remember I took a photo of it. I'm like, holy shit, because I remember looking out that window all the time, and it'd be hazy and smoky, and I still loved it, because I loved living there. But I remember after about 6 weeks, just going out on the balcony because I lived on the ninth floor. I went out there one time, and I'm like, holy shit, maybe people should just stay inside for good. I can actually breathe the air today.
Yeah, you always got these people talking about stop killing the Earth and stuff. We can't kill the Earth. The Earth would chew us up, spit us out, shake us off like a bad case of fleas, and it would be just like it was before. We are not capable of killing the Earth.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that sounds about right. But I mean, you understand, hearing the story, there's slavery going on, there are raiders, so it's very much got that Cormac McCarthy, The Road kind of feel to it. And Joel and Tess agree to take this girl to the rebel group outside, because again, like I said, she's the key to everything. She can get bit and she doesn't get sick. She doesn't understand why, but she gets bit and she doesn't get sick, and that sort of thing.
They just want their battery so he can check on his brother.
They don't
get too pissed about her.
Yeah, not really. And that's what I was thinking this entire time. I'm like, this is a hell of a lot to go through for a fucking battery.
He must check on his brother. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Cause I had almost forgotten about that. But you know something? I mean, like everything that they're going through. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'd be willing to go through all that just to get to. They got to go to Wyoming.
Yeah,
just from Boston to Wyoming. I'm like, fuck, man. That's a tall order.
Especially in that world, oh yeah, because they're outside the safe zones. They got to go through straight the thick of the shit to get there. That's literally love, man.
Yeah, and they barely have any ammo, and they don't have any food, and they're on foot, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing, man? This doesn't make any sense at all. I'm not sure that's something I would do. I mean, I don't have any. I'm an only child, so I don't have any brothers or sisters, so I couldn't speak to it personally. Yeah, but I don't know if I'd be trekking out there, or doing all that just for a fucking car battery. But that's the way the story is going, and so the first episode ends with them venturing out into the city. And again, like I said, when I finished up that episode, extremely impressed, very impressed.
Oh, well, so that.
Yeah, the second episode starts, and suddenly you're in Jakarta, Indonesia. And I used to live in Jakarta. I lived there for 2 years. And so I was stuck. I don't know if I have to check the credits. I don't know if they actually filmed that in Jakarta. That could have just been a set, or something like that, But when I saw that and I heard the Bahasa language, and, I was like, holy shit, because I hadn't been back in about 10 years.
Yeah.
Like the hair on my arm stood up. Oh, cool. I was like, holy shit, they're back in fucking Indonesia. And the military comes in and grabs that one doctor right out of her lunch.
Ibu Rotana, the microcologist.
Yeah. Ibu. Well, Ibu is a term that you extend towards older women for respect. Oh, okay. It's like it would be like calling someone ma'am. It's the equivalent of calling someone ma'am. So Ibu is not It's not her first formal, first name. It's just
So
a sign of respect. And like for older, like for men,
okay,
their equivalent of saying sir is Pak, like Pak. And I
okay,
heard that in
yeah,
there a couple of times. Pak. She called that one general or whatever he was Pak, and they were calling her Ibu. So those are just signs of respect that they have in that community.
oh, cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I queued it up. I mean, that fucking, they want her to look at this bite. That bite is fucking nasty looking, man.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, she cuts it open, and it's got that fungi shit coming out of it already, and
Yeah. And,
what can we do? And she's like,
well,
blow it
I
up.
mean, what really grabbed me was like right from the beginning. Again, they caught me up with the dread. Like it was like the first 30 minutes of the first episode. There was I felt genuine dread like coming
Yeah,
through the television set. And my friend John, I don't know if you've met John. He's on the show all the time. He had this thing that he says where at the very best levels, you see people do nothing, but they make it look interesting.
right.
And so that whole first 30 minutes from the first episode was that completely, with few exceptions, and with the grandma, but everything else was just
Right.
oh, the police are going by. Wow, there's a lot of police going by. Oh, there's something going on the radio. And just to do normal things and to make them seem scary. That's really impressive to me.
Yeah, yeah. He was like, what medicines or vaccines can we use? She's like, there is none. And he's like, what? Well, what should we do? Bombs.
Yeah,
Bomb, blow it up and get the hell out, basically.
yeah,
And you talk about dread, the look on his face said it all.
yeah. I'm trying to cue some of this up here. Yeah, I mean, it's very. I mean, you look at that. That's just graphic,
Yeah,
And again, but I mean, look at that. It's really not anything big. That's a
right.
minimal amount of what's probably practical effects, and yet somehow it's just so fucking revolting.
Yeah,
It's just so fucking revolting, and you're just like, holy shit, like this is fucking creepy as hell. It's just creepy as hell. And yeah, the scene where she's talking to the general and she just, tells him to bomb the whole fucking place, and
she said, just take me home. Take me.
yeah,
She just wants to, because she knows shit. She knows shit's lying. She knows it's
yeah.
over.
And you can see the look on his face. He's just horrified. Bomb the city, bomb everything, bomb all of the people in it. Because for her, she realizes it's the end of everything.
Yeah, and
Like
for
it's
them,
already too late.
yeah, and for them, she was their hope. That's why they abducted her basically and brought her there. So for the
Yeah.
best to tell them that there's no, where else do they go besides her to get advice on what's going to happen? She is the be all end all of telling them that. So when she said that, you can just see it. His whole world it has just crashed because there's nowhere else to go to get help.
Yeah, and well, not to mention, what she's telling him is the solution is essentially to exterminate all the healthy people. Because he starts out and he's talking to her and he's like, well, we had to shoot her, the woman on the slab. And then, she bit 3 other people and we had to put them down. He's upset, but it's very matter of fact.
Yeah.
But once you go from that to start bombing Jakarta,
Yeah.
that's just.
Because it says about 14 people, and she's like, well, where are they at? They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
so,
already too late.
Yeah.
It's already too late. Bomb this city and everyone in it.
Yep.
I mean, and again, just another example of people doing nothing but making it interesting.
Yes. Yeah. uh, it really is a simple case of great filmmaking is all about less is more. It really is. The more you do, the shittier it is.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. So far, at least, they've kept it minimalist, and that's working. And now I don't know, what we're going to expect. It looks like, when I saw the trailer for next week, it looks like they're really going to start ramping it up. And I think you're right about that. The story's just getting started.
Yeah, to be
Um,
effective, man. Look, I didn't even know what the hell. I was like, what the hell is that?
yeah,
I
that
asked
freaked me the fuck out.
it's like
Yeah,
a big mushroom on their head, and he told me what it was. The fungi had gotten there and gotten the pressure so much that it split their head open, and now it's coming out of their head.
ugh,
That's the
ugh. Now,
yeah,
I'm really liking so far. I like the Ellie character.
yeah.
She's still a
The brat.
kid.
She's a
Well,
brat. Yeah,
yeah, she's a little brat, but she's still a kid.
yeah,
It's not one of those situations where she's given all the orders and everybody else is like following her lead. This kind of thing.
yeah,
She does dumb shit. She says dumb shit, and then almost immediately, something comes up to show her like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
yeah.
So far, it's working. Her character, I'm liking it a great deal.
She
They
feels
start
like a
to
14-year-old. She feels like a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah, well, she's still very young, and Joel just wants to shoot her because he doesn't believe. Well, he doesn't believe that she's capable of not turning into an
Right.
infected. Once she's been bitten, but that seems to be the case. And hold on a second, I'm trying to queue up some of these shots of the city. I mean, I just thought that these were pretty damn cool. They start to move out, and
Yes.
those are pretty good effects.
Yes, they spend a lot of time and a lot of attention to the detail, which I guess the game does too. I've never even seen a frame of the game played, so I couldn't tell
Yeah,
you. But
same here. And so I'm not. I don't want to do any or even attempt any kind of comparison because haven't seen it at all. But this looks pretty sharp. I noticed a couple of scenes. I think when they went into the museum, which we'll get to in a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I can see that. I could see the CGI there." But one of the things that came up that's interesting, and I think it's one of the things that HBO does that works for them as opposed to Netflix. Netflix will drop an entire series. Like I just binged Fauda.
Right.
They drop everything at once. And so you can kill it in 2 days. And then, a week later, it's out of your head. What HBO does is they drop one a week.
Old school.
Yeah, they keep it one a week. And, this could go on for 10 weeks, 12 weeks. So it remains relevant for months.
Yeah,
And
you have to wait, and that keeps you looking forward to it.
yeah, whether it was Game of Thrones or whether it was Sopranos or whether it was The Wire, House of the Dragon, more recently this year, and now this, as opposed to I love Cobra Kai. It's the dumbest show ever, but I love Cobra Kai.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah, but it's over in 2 days.
Right.
And you've forgotten about it a week later. I love this season of Stranger Things. I thought it was really, really good. Best season since the first season. But it's gone in 2 days. This kind of thing. This is going to stick around for a while. And I really liked what they did with this city. It was good. It was good stuff.
This is basically when the story starts. I think it's basically now is when it starts getting into the thick of it. I think now the story has begun. You had what happened with Tess and all that. Now we're going to start seeing what they have. Now is when we're going to see if the show is good or not.
And so far, it's been holding up. We get the one scene where they go into, and this is what I meant when I talked about, with Bella Ramsey, where she just goes into they have to wade, well, not wade, they have to kind of walk across this, maybe thigh deep water.
Yeah.
And she just goes up to the hotel counter and starts, doing dumb kid shit because she's a kid, and she's up there and she's, trying to order some, like your finest sweet, please, this, that, and the other. And then instantly, she kicks over something and it turns into a damn, I think there's a dead body.
Yeah, almost hypnotized.
Yeah, and they're just like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing dumb kid shit. And I like the way that they're treating that.
Yes.
And the adults get to be the adults. The kids don't get to be the adults. That sort of thing.
Because she hadn't been out there like that. They had been, but she had never been out there like that. So this is all like a flash of realism to her. When she seen that, she was like, "Wow!" The realism of the situation hit her right in the face with that. Yeah, pretty much. Now, one of the things that because I think they're all kind of seeing things that are making them question, how wise this is. But one of the things that got me was when you saw all the infected kind of writhing on the ground, and they just look like worms. If you've ever gone fishing and you see it, you go to a bait shop or something like that, or you just dig some worms out of the ground or something, you're going to hook them and throw. That's what it looked like. And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. This is fucking gross. And I didn't know why they were like that. I was like, why in the hell are they all laying around just, because I thought it was just a bunch of bodies to begin with. And then you can see that they're moving and that they are alive. Yeah. And then you find out that, the fungus roots go into the ground, sometimes, a mile deep. And so, like, if you step on, certain pieces of the fungus, the cordyceps, I think they're called. Yeah. Yeah, the cordyceps. Then you could be alerting those fucking things that something's in the area. And I'm like, holy shit, that's like really fucking complex. Yeah. That's really complex. Now, one of the reasons that I have nothing against gamers, but I think one of the reasons I haven't brought up any gaming now at this point in my life, in some sense, I feel I'm too damn old. But in another sense, I feel like if I start, like I'm never going to stop, like it's a rabbit hole. Like at this age, I don't need a fucking rabbit hole like that to go down, that kind of thing. So I'm like, yeah, that's okay. But you look at games like, I'm like, really? Are there really games like this out there now? Oh, hell yeah. These are old games. Yeah, I didn't realize how long the original Last of Us had been around, but I guess it's been around for a minute. Do you know how far it goes back? No. Okay. So, they go back into the museum, and I thought this was interesting. And they've got dead bodies in there. And then you get your first fucking look at one of the things. Yeah. And it's just, it's fucking awful. Yeah. And they can't see because their head's been split open, but they can still hear. Yeah. And, and it's like, yeah, that's what I call them as mushroom heads. I don't know why. Yeah, it's pretty awful to look at. The designs on them are pretty fucking gruesome. I don't recall seeing anything like that before. Yeah. I can't, hold on. I'm trying to cue one of these fucking things up, but my son got excited immediately, so it must stay pretty loyal. Really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He immediately was smiling, so that told me that it must be something close at least. Yeah, it was pretty fucking gruesome. Shit. You didn't want to run into one of those fucking things. It does really bring up some kind of, kind of reflexive sort of, gag reflex, and you're just like, oh fuck, that's fucking awful looking. And they're tough, man. It's not even strength in numbers. One of them is tough as fuck to take down and keep down.
Yeah, I mean, look at that fucking thing.
Yeah,
That's just foul. That's
yeah,
just
yeah.
fucking foul looking.
That does look like fungi, doesn't it? Well. No wonder I said mushroom fungi. Hey,
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah, I mean, and so you said that's because the fungus actually splits out of their skull?
yeah,
That's what your son told you?
yeah. I guess the fungi builds up in there, and it builds up an end of pressure, and basically splits the skull open, and that's what happens after it keeps growing out.
And this is what I said. When I put it in the notes, I'm just like, holy shit. Like I wasn't expecting anything like that. And I might have seen briefly in the trailers, one of these, but it wasn't anything that like, stuck in my mind. I guess, it just must have
Yeah,
not been paying attention or something like that. But yeah, those things are fucking awful.
yeah.
That's an awful looking fucking creature. But again, I would assume that's some kind of practical effects.
Yes.
I'm going to dig into because if you have HBO Max, is that where you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I think they have some with every episode. They have some behind the scenes shit. So I'm going
Yeah.
to see if I can find some of the information,
Cool.
and for next week's episode and figure that out. But yeah, that's a pretty impressive looking creature.
Yeah,
Pretty.
I was gonna watch that shit for after, but we was already running late, and I didn't want to have you run any later, so I didn't watch it. So I figured I'd just check it out after.
Yeah. We'll set it up for next week though. I mean, but damn, what a fucking thing. I mean, and we were just talking about when we did Dawn of the Dead,
Mhm.
that the zombie thing maybe played out, but now we've got a whole fresh new IP
Yeah, yeah. Well,
and
anyway,
a hit
well,
show.
anyway, she asked them how long they were infected or how long they stay infected. Did you hear where it said where Joel told her, well, some's like a month, and others have been infected like that for like 20 years. So there's some
Yeah,
that's been around for 20 years like that. I can't wait till they get into that till we hear more about that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, shit. I don't know. Damn.
That's what they look like. That's what those
Yeah.
look like.
I guess I spoke too soon. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're not. And again, like I said, I'm hopeful. I'm,
Yes.
hopeful. Slash cautiously optimistic. That this is going to hold up through the episodes. I'm going to take them one at a time. So far, so good.
HBO's got a
Um,
good track record. HBO's
yeah,
been doing it for a long time, man. They've had
yeah,
a lot of good shows.
yeah. I'm going to argue that Game of Thrones kind of fell apart at the end once they started to run out of once the books kind of went away,
Yeah.
and they ran out of material from the books to use, and they just started like using their own script writers. The
Yeah.
quality kind of fell off. Those first 5 seasons were just holy
Yeah.
shit, because
You
you
could tell
had
what was
Martin's
done by
books.
him. Yeah, you could
You
tell
had
what was done by him and what was done after him.
Yeah, it was just incredibly complex and just layered, and the performances were just fucking solid, and the dialogue, the
Yeah.
extent of the dialogue in a character, say like Tyrion, and then once we got into like season 6 and there wasn't any more source material to borrow from, yeah, it kind of fell off. It kind of fell off, but by and large, yeah, you're right. HBO, and I don't know. I mean, some of the things Netflix is kind of hit or miss. I'm following a couple of things on Netflix, and I'll talk about this when we get out of the show.
Okay.
But I mean, when we're talking about what's coming up, then they've had some hits too. They have some hits too. So I don't. Not everything is a hit, but I don't like to be too harsh. I don't like to be
Right.
too harsh about what those streaming services are putting out, because yeah, some of it's okay. But I mean, you get the impression that this mission isn't going to go very well.
Right.
And then we find out that Tess has been fucking bitten.
Yeah.
And like it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
It just happened so fast, and all of a sudden, it's like you got to take her. he's like, what? You know, like I didn't pick up on it right away. It's Ellie that picks on her. Fuck, she's infected. And you're like, just like that, like Tess is out of the picture. I didn't see that coming. Because I had heard from one of the, well, not directly I had heard, but one of the mega channels that I follow was talking about it, and supposedly there are huge things that are supposed to happen in episode 3. So the next episode is supposed to be huge. And then Neil Druckmann hinted that he may be moving away from the source material. He didn't have a problem necessarily with moving away from his source material. I don't know what the source material is to move it away. You know, I'm going to have to check in with you or with other channels, you know, when you talk to your son, you know, and did this happen or did that happen? Right. But I think part of it was that, okay, well, maybe I think what they were speculating was in the 3rd episode, maybe Joel's going to die and then Tessa's going to take the girl the rest of the way. But clearly that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because Tessa's fucking gone.
I did know that. I did know that The Last of Us was this Joel character and this little girl. I did know that was the foundation of the whole game. So
I figured it had to be. I mean, you know, you could have pulled a move, you know, like an Eddard Stark move, you know, right. And like killed, you know, Eddard Stark off in the 1st season, you know, this is that or the other. But yeah, I mean, you would figure that if you're going to bring Pedro Pascal in, you're not going to go that route. And this isn't George R.R. Martin, so it's not I imagine it's not the nihilism that we saw in those early seasons of Game of Thrones. You know, this will probably be a bit more formulaic, a bit more. But yeah, all of a sudden Tessa's just fucking gone. And I mean, I couldn't believe it. That was it. That was it. It was just fucking over. And I'll be honest, I mean, those scenes where the things are like running and then that one just fucking it's fucking grotesque. You know, starts slowly like approaching her. And you're just like, oh, this is fucking awful to watch. And she's like so fucking revulsed, but she can't do anything. And she's just trying to get that Zippo going. And then, you know, the whole fucking thing just goes up.
Yeah, and that's interesting, I think. That shit, whatever that is that come out of their mouth. We've seen a little bit of that in the 1st episode. And I asked him, I said, what is that shit? You know, and he said that was different than the game too. I guess that's a little different. He didn't tell me exactly how because he didn't want to spoil anything.
Right. So, wait, what did he say it was?
He said that stuff that comes out of the mouth like that. He said that's a little different than the game, but he didn't tell me why or how or nothing. He's really good. He's really good at not spoiling.
Okay, good.
He's letting me go through it and figure it out for myself.
That's the best way because you would have a frame of reference for the other thing anyway.
Right. So
you know,
right.
And
so
then
shit like that. When I ask him that, you know, if he knows, he'll tell me a little bit. But if it's a little different than the game, of course, he doesn't know either. So nothing he can tell me.
Right. All right. And just like that, it's fucking over with. Yeah. Like when it ended, it just ended so fast. Like 5 minutes, you find Tessa's bit, and she's gonna fucking kill herself and try to take as many as she can with him, and then it just ends.
Dread, yeah.
You're just like, what the fuck just happened? So I was like, oh, okay. Well, this fucking episode held up too.
Yeah.
This episode held up too. Fucking A.
I'm hoping it does. I'm always looking for a good new show or a good new movie, and it's such slim pickings now that when you find one, you just want to hold on to it.
Yeah, and when you find one that you can't kill in 2 days, like I just like Netflix. Like I don't think I got a chance to complete it. The thought, but they just dropped one of my favorite shows. It's an Israeli show on Netflix called Fauda. Have you watched it?
Mm-mm.
If you put that at the front of your queue. Fauda. Fauda. There are 4 seasons.
Okay.
It is one of the best thrillers out there, and it is uber fucking realistic about what goes on between the Israelis and the Palestinians. It's an action. It's an action series. It's fucking amazing. This guy Lior Raz, he was like an Israeli commando, and when he in real life, and then when he got out of the military, he started writing a series, a television series, based on his experiences about what actually happens in the day-to-day thing. You know, being an Israeli.
Right.
You know, with and even like the other Arab countries, like love the show. They're like, yeah, that's really fucking realistic. Like he's not bullshitting here. He's not sugarcoating anything. This is really what both sides fucking do, which is a never-ending contest of kicking each other in the balls. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, anytime you can find a good show, but yeah, put that at the front of your fucking queue, and then get back to me on that.
All right.
So, I mean, it looks like there's going to be a bit more action in next week's episode. I'm looking forward to it. It seems like you're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's good shit so far.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Nice, dreadful cliffhanger to leave us on.
Yeah. And it's definitely now going to be Ellie and Joel. To be Ellie and Joel.
And I don't think she's prepared for it yet. You know, it's he had a pretty good backup with that chick. She was a pretty tough chick. And almost immediately at the very beginning of the whole voyage, she's gone. So
yeah.
He's supposed to be a bad motherfucker, so I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see, yeah. Well, I think they're going to be. It seems like. Did you watch the trailer for next week?
No,
okay. All right. I won't. It looks like they're going to be introducing some new characters.
Cool. Okay.
Some new characters. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. By the time we get to now this episode, I think the story is really just kind of going to begin. So
now we're going to meet the main characters that we're going to follow through at least this season.
I think so.
So,
damn, it was good.
And from what I've heard about it, I've heard a lot of things about it. You know, because you know they preview this a lot of people. You know, they'll preview it and they'll let you know. You know, and that's when you get all those little things talking about a great series and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And from what they said, it definitely holds up. You know, and some of those people saying that are very finicky. So
yeah, I think we've got a good one here. All right, so that this show works, and if you're not watching it, give it a shot. Give the first episode a shot, you know, and make up your own mind. Don't take our word for it. Go out there and see it for yourself. HBO really Max. It's the new episode drops every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be here immediately after the episode, not long after the episode drops. To review it and discuss it. I think there's going to be more to discuss as we go on, especially as we start to meet these other characters. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to next week's episode.
Because it's going to be good stuff. I liked Tess already. You know what I mean? I kind of cared about her already. She was a great character. Yeah,
same here. So that's a good sign when you start to kill off some of your main characters. Yeah, that could be a good sign. All right, plug something. What you got coming up? You're kind of all over the place these days.
Yeah, I'm doing what I call watch-alongs / commentary / discussions, which I do that the whole time. I do a different kind of watch-along than anybody else. I watch the movie, but I discuss it the whole way through. I never shut up, so it's a commentary. And it's also a discussion, and we discuss different things about the movie throughout, and I keep up with the movie. So that's definitely my niche.
Okay.
And I'm also working on, you know, a few different other side things here and there. With, you know, I got lots of shit coming. I've got
anything this week you want to let people know about?
Yeah, I'm doing the tomorrow night. I'm doing I'm doing my watch along commentary of the original Insidious. first Insidious.
Oh, okay, with Patrick Wilson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. James Wan.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first two of those was really good.
Yeah, they were. Okay, all right. Yeah. I haven't seen those in a long time. Okay, all right. So you got that coming up. All right, maybe I'll check that out if I'm still awake.
Cool.
Fuck. This is this is like, huh?
Hopefully recording episode 5 of And Horror for All also on Tuesday morning. And that'll probably be out Wednesday. So
okay, you're enjoying those?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's what it's supposed to be. It's still kind of evolving. What it's supposed to be is it's almost like sneak previews, or that show they had on HBO back in the '80s, where they would show new upcoming shit and they would discuss it. Things aren't out there yet. Like on episode 1, I discussed the new Evil Dead. I discussed Knock at the Door. And this was over a month ago. I started telling people about the new M. Night Shyamalan because I'm a fan. So
yeah, that looks like it's going to be fun, and it's not far off. Maybe 2 weeks. So that's going to be good. And the new Brandon Cronenberg movie drops this weekend.
Yeah. Yes, with Skarsgård and Goff.
Yeah, that looks pretty good too.
Skarsgård's so good, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I'm glad he's finally making it. He's been around for a long time.
True Blood almost killed him, didn't it?
That and we know what he was really good in was Generation Kill. Did you see that?
What was it?
Generation Kill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was good about the Marines going to Baghdad. That was another good show. That was good stuff.
He was in a movie with oh my god, she's my favorite too. Kristen. Anyway, as I get older, my brain seems to do that. I forget names. I forgot Al Pacino's name the other fucking day. You believe that?
Yeah, a boomer moment.
But he was in a movie, and it's called Melancholia.
Okay.
And he's really good in it too. I would recommend that. That's a great new show.
You know what he's really good in? Have you seen Altered Carbon?
Mm-mm.
That's another. It's a series on Netflix. Altered Carbon. The first season of Altered Carbon is fucking fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, he's good in that. He's good in that too. So you got those things coming up. Let's see what's going on. Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, I'll be with Sydney from Cinema Cities, and we're going to be talking about You Won't Be Alone, which is what I thought was the best horror movie of the year. Absolutely,
I've heard of it. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I thought that was. And then Wednesday night, we've got the 2-year anniversary show. So I hope you're going to join us for that. That's just going to be a hangout stream. That's at 8 p.m. And then I'm going to be doing a Junji Ito. He's got a Netflix series, Japanese Tales of the Macabre. And it's going to be my first anime horror review. And I'm not much into anime, but I actually am into Junji Ito. He's done some really good stuff like Tomy.
Okay.
If you get a chance, Junji Ito, he's Uzumaki. Uzumaki's fucking phenomenal. Okay. He does manga. Like apparently there's I don't know much about manga, but apparently there's a category for almost everything in manga. Like if you're looking for whether it be drama or action or sci-fi or mystery or something, there's a category for it. So there's also manga horror. Stop. Ooh. Get out of here. Scoot. There's also manga horror, and he's just dropped a 12-episode series of anime horror. So I'm going to be reviewing that this week too. So it's going to be busy for me too.
Very cool.
Well, it's a little bit past my bedtime, and I've got to get up early tomorrow. My thanks to you, the Gorfo, for stopping in. And I guess I'll see you Wednesday night, right? You're going to come in for the show?
I don't think I got anything going on Wednesday night at all.
Even if you don't stop in for 5 minutes.
So at this point, yes.
Okay. And I'll send you the link for that in a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you.
All All right, everybody. That's it for us. We'll be back on Sunday, next Sunday, to cover episode 3 immediately after it drops on HBO. We'll be here to talk about it. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.